Have you ever looked straight at a creature and still didn't see it? Somewhere in the Indo-Pacific, a small fish drifts among coral and seagrass, completely exposed, yet almost impossible to detect. Predators pass within inches of it and keep swimming as if nothing is there. How does something barely 15 centimeters long manage to vanish so perfectly in plain sight? This is the thorny seahorse, a species so well camouflaged that it doesn't just hide. It erases itself from the scene, covered in jagged, thorn-like spines and able to shift its colors to match its surroundings. It can blend into coral, sponges, and swaying seagrass so precisely that even trained eyes struggle to spot it. But here's what makes it even more fascinating. This invisible fish isn't just surviving, it's hunting, reproducing, and living an entire life right in front of everything that's trying to eat it. So, how does the thorny seahorse disappear completely from predators? Let's find out. And don't forget to subscribe for more amazing ocean secrets. This seahorse may only grow to about 15 to 17 centimeters, but up close, it looks far more complex than its size suggests. Its entire body is covered in sharp, thorn-like spines, giving it a rough, uneven outline that makes it almost impossible to recognize as a fish. Instead of a smooth appearance, it looks broken and irregular, more like drifting debris or a fragment of coral. Along the tail, these spines are evenly spaced and tipped in darker shades, helping blur its edges even further. The trunk carries longer, more pronounced thorns that run upward to the coronet, the crown-like structure on its head, which usually has 4 to 5 distinct points and adds to that jagged plant-like appearance. The head is just as complex as it is. Spines extend from the forehead, cheeks, and even above the eyes, creating shadows and texture that mimic the surrounding reef. Its snout is long, narrow, and slightly pointed, perfectly designed to slip between tiny gaps and quietly suck in small prey without creating much movement in the water. But the real reason predators miss it comes down to color and timing. This seahorse can shift between gray, cream, yellow, green, red, and brown depending on its surroundings. In seagrass, it leans toward greens and yellows. Around corals or sponges, it can take on reds or muted browns. Some are plain, while others carry faint patterns that resemble the lines and patches found in marine plants. Even the smallest details play a role. The snout often has thin white stripes that match the way light filters through water and reflects off nearby surfaces. Combined with its habit of moving slowly, or barely moving at all, it doesn't just hide, it disappears. The thorny seahorse ranges across a wide stretch of the Indo-Pacific, but despite this broad distribution, actually finding one is incredibly rare. Its presence has been recorded from Ashmore Reef in the Timor Sea, along the vast expanse of the Great Barrier Reef, and as far south as Port Stephens in New South Wales. Beyond Australia, it also appears in regions like Bali, Papua New Guinea, New Caledonia, and parts of southern Japan. Yet in all these places, sightings remain few and far between. Part of the reason it's so hard to spot comes down to depth. This species typically lives between 10 and 95 meters below the surface, with most individuals staying deeper than 15 meters. At these depths, sunlight begins to fade, colors dull, and shadows take over. Perfect conditions for a master of disguise. Down here, its jagged, spine-covered body doesn't just help it hide, it allows it to practically vanish. It's also highly adaptable when it comes to habitat. Thorny seahorses can anchor themselves to sponges, tuck into soft corals, or drift among rocky, algae-covered reefs. But their true stronghold lies in seagrass beds. In these dense underwater meadows, surrounded by constantly swaying blades and shifting patterns of light and shadow, their thorny outline breaks apart completely. Instead of standing out, they become just another piece of the moving landscape, almost impossible to distinguish even when you're looking right at them. In a world full of predators and constant motion, this ability to disappear isn't just impressive, it's the key to their survival. The thorny seahorse may look like a drifting piece of coral, but it's actually a precise and highly efficient predator, just one that operates in near silence. Its diet consists of tiny crustaceans and plankton, microscopic creatures that drift with ocean currents, often completely unaware of danger. Instead of chasing prey, the thorny seahorse turns stillness into a weapon. It anchors itself using its prehensile tail, grips onto seagrass or coral, and becomes part of the scenery. Motionless, patient, and nearly invisible. But beneath that calm exterior, it's constantly tracking movement. Its eyes can move independently, scanning the water in different directions at the same time, locking onto the slightest flicker of motion. Then, in an instant, everything changes. With a rapid flick of its head, it creates a powerful suction through its long tube-like snout, pulling the prey straight into its mouth. There's no warning, no chase, just a sudden vacuum that leaves its target with no chance to escape. The entire strike happens in milliseconds, faster than the human eye can follow. And just as quickly as it moves, it goes still again, resetting, waiting, disappearing back into the underwater world as if nothing happened. In a habitat where movement can give you away, the thorny seahorse proves that sometimes the most effective hunters are the ones you never see move at all. Like all seahorses, this species does something that still surprises people. Here, the male is the one that carries the babies. The female transfers her eggs into a pouch located under the male's abdomen using a specialized structure called an ovipositor. Once the eggs are inside, the male takes over completely. Inside that pouch, things get even more fascinating. The lining is filled with tiny, capillary-rich structures, almost like a placenta, that surround each egg. This setup allows the male to supply oxygen, regulate salt levels, and protect the developing embryos. He fertilizes the eggs inside the pouch, keeps them safe, and even helps control their environment as they grow. Over time, the embryos develop fully inside this protected space. And when they're ready, the male releases fully formed miniature seahorses into the water. From that moment on, they're completely on their own. No protection, no guidance, just instinct. Even with all its defenses, the thorny seahorse is struggling in the wild. It's currently listed as vulnerable, with populations believed to have dropped by more than 30% in just the last 10 to 15 years. That's a steep decline for a species that already relies heavily on staying hidden. One of the biggest problems is fishing, both direct and indirect. Some are caught intentionally for traditional medicine or trade, but many are taken accidentally as bycatch, especially in shrimp trawling. These fishing methods drag across the ocean floor, scooping up everything in their path, including seahorses. And it's not just the animals being removed, their homes are disappearing too. Seagrass habitats, where these seahorses blend in best, are shrinking due to pollution, sediment buildup, coastal construction, dredging, and invasive species. These changes don't just reduce habitat, they break it apart, making survival even harder. Even if trade stopped completely, these other threats would still be enough to cause serious damage. The thorny seahorse is officially listed under Appendix 2 of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES, a global agreement designed to keep wildlife trade under control before species are pushed toward extinction. On paper, that means international trade should be carefully monitored and regulated. But in reality, things aren't nearly that clear. A large number of seahorses don't enter the market through targeted fishing at all. They're caught accidentally as bycatch in trawl nets and other large-scale fishing operations. And because they're not the intended catch, many of them are never properly recorded. They're simply swept up, dried, and added to trade streams with little documentation, making enforcement extremely difficult. The confusion doesn't stop there, and the name thorny seahorse isn't always used precisely in trade. It often becomes a catch-all label for several similar-looking spiny seahorse species across the Indo-Pacific. To an untrained eye, or even within busy markets, these species can be nearly impossible to tell apart. That overlap makes accurate tracking, reporting, and protection far more complicated than it should be. Even though this species isn't popular in the aquarium trade due to its preference for deeper, low-light environments, it still finds its way into global markets. Most commonly, it's dried and sold for use in traditional medicine or as ornamental curios. Ironically, its sharp, jagged spines can make it less desirable compared to smoother species. But that hasn't been enough to spare it from collection, and the warning signs have been there for decades. Since the mid-1990s, reports of declining seahorse populations have continued to surface across different parts of their range. The problem is, Much of this decline is happening quietly, out of sight, underreported, and easy to miss. It's a hidden trade, affecting an already hard-to-find animal, making its disappearance even harder to notice. And that's the thorny seahorse, a true master of camouflage, perfectly designed to disappear into its surroundings, blending with corals, sponges, and swaying seagrass. It hunts silently, survives by patience, and even carries life in the male's pouch. But despite all these incredible adaptations, it's still facing serious threats. Habitat loss, bycatch, and unregulated trade are pushing this hidden marvel closer to vulnerability every day. Its survival depends on awareness and protection. If you found this eye-opening, subscribe for more in-depth stories of nature's most extraordinary creatures, and share in the comments which animal you want us to explore next.